The courage quotient, unleashing your inner leader. Have you ever felt that pit in your stomach, that moment of hesitation when you know you should speak up, but fear holds you back? That feeling of your heart racing, palms sweating as you contemplate taking a risk that could change everything? We've all been there. But what if I told you that the very thing you're afraid of, that leap into the unknown, is the key to unlocking your true potential as a leader? Welcome to the Black CEO podcast. Today we're diving deep into a topic that has the power to transform not just your career, but your entire life. We're talking about courage, but not in the way you might expect. I'm thrilled to share with you the incredible insights I've gained from a recent interview with the remarkable Navaline Smith. Navaline's groundbreaking work in leadership and courage has been nothing short of revolutionary. She's not just changing how we think about business leadership, she's reshaping the very fabric of our professional world. Her impact on empowering leaders to create positive change is immeasurable, touching lives across industries and continents. Now let's embark on a journey that will challenge your perceptions, ignite your inner fire, and potentially alter the course of your life and career. We're about to explore courage in business and leadership, but I promise you, it's not what you think. When we hear the word courage in the context of work, what images come to mind? Perhaps you envision a daring entrepreneur risking it all on a revolutionary idea. Or maybe you picture a lone whistleblower standing tall against corruption, knowing full well the personal cost. While these are indeed powerful examples of courage, they only scratch the surface of what true courage in leadership really means. Here's the surprising truth that Navaline Smith has uncovered. Courage in business isn't about grand, heroic gestures or impulsive acts of bravery. It's not an innate trait that some lucky few are born with while others lack. No, the reality is both simpler and more profound. Courage is a skill that can be learned, practiced, and refined over time. Let that sink in for a moment. Courage is a skill. This revelation challenges everything we thought we knew about bravery in the workplace. It shatters the myth that courage is a fixed trait, opening up a world of possibilities for each and every one of us. It means that no matter where you are in your career, no matter how timid or risk averse you might consider yourself, you have the potential to become a courageous leader. But what does this courage look like in practice? How can we cultivate it in our daily lives? To answer these questions, let's dive into three key insights that emerged from my conversation with Navaline Smith. The first insight is that courage in business is about calculated risk-taking. It's not about reckless abandon or blind leaps of faith. Instead, it's about carefully considering your goals, weighing the potential risks and benefits, and then making a conscious decision to act. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. Imagine a young professional named Tanya Modick working at a bank, feeling stuck in the daily grind. One day, she notices several neglected accounts with significant potential. The easy path would have been to ignore these accounts, to stick to her assigned tasks and play it safe. But Tanya saw an opportunity where others saw only obstacles. She made a bold decision. Using her own vacation time and personal resources, she traveled to New York to revitalize these accounts. Can you imagine the courage it took to risk not just her time and money, but potentially her job and professional reputation? But here's the crucial part. Tanya's decision wasn't impulsive. She carefully planned her approach, considered the potential outcomes, and prepared for various scenarios. She knew that failure could mean losing her job, but she also recognized the potential for significant success. The result? Tanya's courageous action led to her promotion and recognition by senior management. Her calculated risk paid off, not just in terms of her career advancement, but in the confidence and experience she gained from taking that leap. This story beautifully illustrates our first key lesson: courage as a skill. Tanya didn't rely on innate bravery or impulsive action. She developed her courage through careful consideration, planning, and execution. She took a calculated risk, and in doing so, she honed her courage muscle. Now, let's move on to our second insight. Courageous leaders prioritize principles over personal interests. This is where things get really challenging because it often means standing up for what you believe in, even when it could cost you personally. Consider the story of Peter Rost, a physician who was working for Pfizer. Peter found himself in a difficult position when he realized that the pharmaceutical industry's practices were leading to inflated drug prices, making essential medicines unaffordable for many people. He could have stayed quiet, protected his career, and enjoyed the benefits of his high paying job. Instead, he chose to take a stand. Peter began advocating for the import of lower priced medicines from Canada. This was a direct challenge to his employer and the entire pharmaceutical industry. The potential consequences were severe: job loss, professional backlash, and possibly the end of his career in the industry. But Peter's courage wasn't about being fearless. I'm sure he felt fear. I'm sure he had sleepless nights wondering if he was making the right choice. But he chose to prioritize his principles over his personal interests. He chose to stand up for what he believed was right, even in the face of significant adversity. The outcome? Peter's actions were indeed costly to his career, but they also sparked important conversations about drug pricing and accessibility. His courage highlighted the importance of standing up for one's beliefs, even when it comes at a personal cost. This brings us to our second key lesson: prioritizing principles over personal interests. Courageous leaders are willing to take risks to stand up for what they believe in, even if it means facing challenges and potential failure. It's not about being reckless or martyring oneself. It's about having a clear set of values and being willing to act on them even when it's difficult. Now, let's explore our third insight. Courageous leaders embrace failure as part of the learning process. This might seem counterintuitive. After all, isn't courage about succeeding against the odds? But true courage isn't about always winning. It's about being willing to take risks, learn from mistakes, and keep moving forward. To illustrate this, let me share the story of Allison May, a stock trader who found herself in a toxic work environment. The culture in her team was rife with backbiting and hypocrisy. Many people in her position might have kept their head down, avoiding conflict to protect their job. But Allison chose a different path. She decided to confront the toxic culture head on. She spoke up about the issues she saw, knowing full well that her actions could lead to backlash or even job loss. But here's the crucial part: Allison prepared herself for all potential outcomes, including the worst case scenario. This preparation is key. Allison wasn't acting on blind optimism. She was ready for the possibility of failure. She understood that speaking up might not immediately solve the problems, that she might face negative consequences. But she also knew that regardless of the outcome, she would learn and grow from the experience. The result? Allison's courageous action led to positive changes within the team. More than that, it set her on a path of growth that eventually led to her promotion to CFO and later CEO roles. But even if the immediate outcome hadn't been positive, Allison's approach exemplifies our third key lesson: embracing failure as part of the learning process. Courageous leaders understand that not every risk will pay off. Not every stand will be vindicated immediately, but they take these actions anyway, knowing that each experience, whether a success or a failure, is an opportunity for growth and learning. So we've explored our three key insights: courage as a skill that can be developed, the importance of prioritizing principles, and embracing failure as part of the learning process. But what does this mean for you? How can you apply these lessons in your own life and career? First, recognize that courage is not about the absence of fear. It's about acting despite that fear. Start small. Look for low stakes opportunities to practice courage in your daily life. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting when you have a different perspective. Maybe it's volunteering for a project that stretches your abilities. Each time you take a small risk, you're building your courage muscle. Second, take some time to clarify your values and principles. What really matters to you? What are the lines you won't cross, even if it could benefit you personally? Having a clear sense of your principles will guide you when you face difficult decisions. Third, reframe your relationship with failure. Instead of seeing it as something to be avoided at all costs, view it as a valuable teacher. When you take a risk and it doesn't pan out, don't beat yourself up. Instead, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger and wiser? Now, I want to challenge you. Reflect on a situation in your professional life where you could take a courageous stand or make a calculated risk to achieve a goal. It doesn't have to be something huge. Remember, we're building this skill over time. Consider how you can apply the principles of courageous leadership we've discussed today How can you prepare yourself? What's the worst that could happen and how would you handle it? What's the best that could happen? And most importantly, how will taking this step help you grow regardless of the outcome? I want you to take the first step towards making a bold move that aligns with your values and goals. It might feel uncomfortable. You might feel fear. That's okay. Courage isn't about being fearless, it's about acting despite that fear. Remember, every courageous leader we admire started somewhere. They weren't born with an innate ability to take risks or stand up for their principles. They developed these skills over time through practice and perseverance, and you can do the same. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Courage is not a personality trait. It's not something that only belongs to a select few. It's a skill that each of us can cultivate. It's a choice we can make every day in small ways and in big ones. By developing your courage, by standing up for your principles, by embracing the possibility of failure, you're not just changing your own life and career, you're contributing to a larger shift. You're becoming part of a movement of leaders who prioritize integrity over expediency, who value long term impact over short term gain. Imagine a world where more leaders operated from this place of courageous authenticity. Imagine the positive changes we could see in our workplaces, in our industries, in our communities. That world is possible. And it starts with each of us making the choice to be a little bit braver today than we were yesterday. So I challenge you, what courageous step will you take today? How will you stretch your courage muscle? How will you stand up for your principles? How will you embrace the possibility of failure in service of growth? The path of courage isn't always easy. It isn't always comfortable, but it is always worthwhile. It leads to growth, to authenticity, to a life and career aligned with your deepest values. You have the power to be a courageous leader. You have the ability to make a difference. And it all starts with a single step. So, what will your step be? As we come to the end of this talk, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the person you could become if you embrace courage as a skill. Imagine the impact you could have on your team, your organization, your industry. Imagine the ripple effect of your courageous actions, inspiring others to do the same. Now open your eyes. That future isn't just a dream, it's a possibility waiting to be realized. And it starts right here, right now, with a decision to cultivate courage, to prioritize principles, to embrace failure as a teacher. I challenge you to make that decision today. Start small if you need to, but start. Speak up in that meeting. Take on that challenging project. Have that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Each act of courage, no matter how small, is a step towards becoming the leader you're meant to be. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear, it's the triumph over it. It's not about being fearless, but about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It's about recognizing that on the other side of that fear lies growth, opportunity, and the chance to make a real difference. So go forth and be courageous. The world needs your voice, your ideas, your principles. It needs leaders who are willing to take calculated risks, to stand up for what's right, to learn from failure, and keep moving forward. You have everything you need to start this journey right now. The courage is within you, waiting to be unleashed. All you need to do is take that first step. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of courage in leadership. Now, go out there and show the world what true courage looks like. The future is waiting and it's calling for courageous leaders like you. Are you ready to answer that call?